All right, we're going to work on solving two-step equations. So a two-step equation is called two-step because it has two operations that we're going to undo. We're going to solve these similar to the one-step equations you did, where you will use the inverse operations to undo each operation we have. The only difference is you'll do two things now instead of just one. And you're going to do them in reverse order, so that's the opposite order of the order of operations. So typically we're going to just deal with multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. If you think about order of operations, you do multiplication, division first, and then addition and subtraction. So we're going to go in reverse order now, which means we're going to deal with the addition or subtraction first, and then the multiplication or division. Okay? And remember the very important thing, everything you do to one side of your equal sign, you have to do to the other. Okay? So if you do it on the left, you've got to do it on the right, or if you do it on the right, you have to do it on the left. So to help with that, we're going to start out by drawing a line through our equal sign. That's going to be the first thing we do. That way we can see our two sides and make sure we do everything to both sides. Then we're going to move the constant away from the variable by adding or subtracting. So remember the constant you learned in Unit 1. The constant is the number that's not attached to the variable. So we're going to move that constant by either adding or subtracting. We'll identify which one we have and do the opposite. So if we have addition, we're going to subtract. If we have subtraction, we're going to add. After you've done that, you're going to get rid of your coefficient. So remember from Unit 1, the coefficient is the number that is with the variable. And we're going to get rid of that with either multiplying or dividing. So if you have multiplication, you're going to divide. If you have division, you're going to multiply. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of examples. Example number 1. So we're going to start with drawing our line through our equal sign. This shows us our two sides. Everything we do to one side, we have to do to the other. Okay, now we need to move our constant. We're going to look at the constant that's with the variable. So look at the side where our variable is. We have x here on the left. There's our constant, is our 7. So if we have plus 7, we're going to subtract 7 from both sides. Okay, leaves me with 5x. But 7 and minus 7 cancel each other out because 7 minus 7 is 0. Equals, and then I'm going to combine negative 23 minus 7, which is negative 30. Okay? After you've moved your constant, if you look here on the left, we should just have one term left. I just have 5x. So now I'm going to move that coefficient. The coefficient is our 5. 5 is in front of x, which means I'm multiplying. So we're going to get rid of multiplication by doing some division. So divide by 5 on both sides. 5 divided by 5 is 1. Leaves me with just one x, or just x, equals, and the negative 30 divided by 5 is negative 6. So x equals negative 6 is our answer. Remember from 2:1, you can plug that back in and you can check to make sure it works. So if I take 5 times negative 6 plus 7, 5 times negative 6 is negative 30, and then negative 30 plus 7 is negative 23. So x equals negative 6 is correct. Okay, let's go down and look at number 2. Start by drawing your line through your equal sign. Okay, now we need to move the constant away from the variable. So our variable is here on the left. So we need to find our constant. We have a 9 and we have a minus 8. Remember the constant is the one without the variable. So minus 8 is our constant. And since we have subtraction, we get rid of it with the opposite. So I'm going to add 8. Leaves me with m divided by 9. Minus 8 and plus 8 is 0. Equals 1 plus 8 is 9. Now I'm going to deal with my coefficient. Coefficient is the one with the variable. So I have this 9. So notice I have m over 9, which is like I have division. So I get rid of division with multiplying. So I'm going to multiply by the number of my denominator, which is the 9. So I'm going to multiply by 9. But remember, if you do it to one side, you have to do it to the other. So this times 9 and divided by 9 cancel each other out, leaves me with m equals 9 times 9 is 81. Remember, you can check yourself real quick, plug m back in. So 81 divided by 9 minus 8. 81 divided by 9 is 9, and then 9 minus 8 is 1. So 81 is correct. Next example, line through the middle. We need to find our constant. So look at the side where our variable is. Our variable's over here on the left. Your constant is the number not attached to the variable. So for us, we have a plus 10, and I get rid of addition with subtraction. So 1/2 n. 10 and minus 10 cancel out. 17 minus 10 is 7. Okay? Now we need to get rid of our coefficient, which is our 1/2. Now remember here we have multiplication. In between a number and a variable, if you don't have a symbol, you have a multiplication sign that's kind of hiding. So we get rid of multiplication with division. So I'm going to put a little divide by. I'm going to divide by 1/2. And then I'm going to do it over here on the right side, because if I do it to the left, I have to do it to the right. These 1/2s, the 1/2 divided by 1/2 cancel out, leaves me with n equals, and then I'm going to give you a second to type this in Desmos or in a calculator. Type in 7 divided by 1/2. It should give you your answer. If you need to, pause the video. I want you to type that in, 7 divided by 1/2. So once you type that in your calculator, 7 divided by 1/2, you hopefully got 14. And then once again, we can check ourselves by plugging it back in for n. So I have 1/2 times 14 plus 10. Hopefully that equals 17. Well, half of 14 is 7. So I really have 7 plus 10, and 7 plus 10 is in fact 17. So n equals 14 is correct. Last example. Line through the middle. I need to find my constant on the same side as my variable. So once again, my variable is over here on the left. This time my constant is in front, okay? So we're going to deal with that constant. I have this 2. Now notice I have this minus sign, but remember that the symbols, the addition or subtraction, go with the number that follow it. So this minus sign does not go with this 2, it goes with this 3. Okay, so we're not going to deal with this minus sign right now because I'm going to deal with the 2. I don't have a symbol in front of my 2, which means my 2 is positive. And if it's positive, I either need to add or subtract to move my constant. If it's positive, subtracting will get rid of it because 2 minus 2 is 0. This negative sign needs to come down with my 3. So I have negative 3x equals, and then I have 11 minus 2, which is 9. Now, I need to get rid of my coefficient, but I can only get rid of the coefficient with multiplying or dividing. So this negative does not mean I can add my 3. That negative just goes with the 3 when I do my multiplication or division. And so since, once again, remember we have this hidden multiplication symbol, I get rid of multiplication with division. So I'm going to divide by negative 3 on both sides. Because my 3 is negative, I need to bring that negative with me. So negative 3 divided by negative 3 is just 1, leaves me with 1x, or just x. And then 9 divided by negative 3 is negative 3. And that's what x equals. And then I can plug it back in to check to make sure. 2 minus 3 times negative 3. Well, order of operation says I do multiplication first. So I have 3 times negative 3, which is negative 9, but I have this minus sign, so 2 negatives make a positive. So 2 plus 9 is in fact 11. So x equals negative 3 is correct.